Storydepths presents audiobook of the Curators Series, Book 1, Zephy Awakening by Kennard. You are listening to episode 16 from Zephy Awakening. Click on the playlist to listen to previous episodes. All rights reserved.
In the serene heart of Xivi's sanctuary, the air thick with the light of its multiple suns. Hum of cosmic energy filled the air. I stood grappling with an intense wave of dread. As Amara and Lethara discussed complexities of Dark Star and our next steps, I turned to Amara, my voice filled with quiet urgency. Amara, I know that as curators we're not supposed to form personal attachments to other life forms. Our focus is on maintaining balance of galaxy. But, could you see what Lily is doing now? I'm worried about her and others. Amara's expression softened. Her eyes reflected both understanding and limitations of our powers. Zephy, our abilities don't allow us to sense individual life forms. Their energy levels are minuscule compared to immense forces of cosmic bodies. We can't detect them through cosmic web, which is attuned to grander scales of universe. I nodded, feeling a pang of disappointment. I understand. It's just that it's been 3 months. I don't know how they're doing. I can't help but worry about them. But I can feel it. I know Lily is in danger. Feeling that Lily was in danger gnawed at me, growing stronger with each passing moment. The challenges of Dark Star seemed to fade in comparison, and the unknown energy that threatened our galaxy seemed less significant to immediate visceral fear for my friend. Amara's expression was calm, yet there was flicker of concern in her eyes. Zephy, as I've explained before, curators cannot sense individual life forms. Their energy levels are so small compared to immense forces of cosmic bodies that we cannot detect them. Our powers are attuned to grander scales of universe. I shook my head. Feeling of dread intensified. But this is different. I can feel her fear, her distress. It's not just vague concern. It's like part of me is connected. Lethara, who had been observing quietly, stepped forward, his brow furrowed with thought. If you can sense her, Zephy, it suggests a connection beyond what we understand. This may be a new aspect of your powers that we haven't fully explored. Mara's gaze grew more serious. Tone firm. Even if you are sensing her, Zephy, we must adhere to our roles as curators. We are guardians of galaxy's balance, not protectors of individual lives. Intervening in their lives goes against our rules. It can disrupt natural order. Her words struck me like blow, and anger surged through me. Hot and fierce. What's the point of keeping galaxy stable if we don't save lives within it? It demanded, my voice trembling with emotion. If we know someone is in danger and we do nothing, then what are we really protecting? Amara's eyes softened with understanding but remained resolute. Zephy, our responsibilities are complex. The balance of galaxy ensures survival of countless life forms. Focusing on individual lives could lead to unintended consequences and disrupt balance we strive to maintain. I could feel my fury rising, my frustration boiling over. Though, we're just supposed to ignore it? Turn blind eye when we know someone is suffering? How can that be right? Lethara's voice was calm, but his eyes reflected concern. Zephy, our role is to see the bigger picture. The stability of galaxy is our primary duty. By focusing on individual lives, we risk losing sight of the larger balance. The weight of their words pressed down on me. The thought of Lily in danger was unbearable. I can't just stand by and do nothing. My voice broke with desperation. There's chance I can help her. I have to try. Amara exchanged a troubled glance with Lethara. Her expression conflicted. Zephy, you must understand gravity of what you're asking. Our rules exist for reason, to guide us and keep galaxy in balance. Breaking them could undermine our very purpose. I took deep breath, trying to steady myself. I understand the risks, but I can't ignore this feeling. Can't leave her to face whatever danger she's in. Amara's face was etched with sadness. Voice gentle but firm. Your compassion is both strength and a challenge, Zephy. We must find a way to reconcile your instincts with our responsibilities. My anger flared hotter. My frustration turned into boiling rage. Enough of this. If we don't save the lives within the galaxy, then what is point of our existence? Open the portal, Amara. Startled by the intensity of my fury, Amara hesitated, her eyes wide with fear. The air around me shimmered with heat, distorting space as my anger reached its peak. Lethara took a step back, his expression filled with alarm. Zephy, calm down, Lethara urged, his voice trembling. We need to think this through. But my mind was set, my determination fueled by need to protect Lily. Open portal now, Amara. Being desperation in my eyes and uncontrollable power emanating from me, Amara relented. With a wave of her hand, she summoned portal. The air shimmering and distorting as gateway to Earth appeared. Go, Amara said, her voice tinged with fear. But remember, you must return quickly. There is much at stake here. Without another word, I stepped through portal, the light enveloping me as I was transported back to Kit's hammock. Familiar salty breeze of the coastal town hit me. But there was no time for nostalgia or relief. I needed to find Lily. I hurried through streets, my heart pounding with mix of fear and anger. As I approached Lena's home, the sense of dread grew stronger. I reached her door and knocked frantically, my mind racing with worry. Lena opened the door, her eyes widening in shock when she saw me. Zephy, you're back. After months. Her words were cut off by a choked sob. She started to cry not out of joy at seeing me, but from deep, heart-wrenching sorrow. Lena, what's wrong? Where's Lily? I asked, panic rising in my chest. Through her tears, Lena managed to speak, her voice trembling. They took her, Zephy. The police came and took her back to her old foster home. She's being tortured there. I couldn't stop them. The words hit me like physical blow, and wave of fury and helplessness washed over me. Why? Why didn't you call for help? Lena shook her head, tears falling freely. I tried, but they said she belonged to state and they had right to take her. Couldn't do anything. My hands clenched into fists. I could feel heat radiating off my skin, the anger bubbling up uncontrollably. I'm going to get her back, I said, my voice low and filled with dangerous resolve. I don't care about rules. I'm not letting her suffer. Lena looked at me with mixture of hope and fear. Zephy, be careful. I nodded, my determination hardening into fierce resolve. I'll bring her back. I promise. With that, I turned and headed towards direction of Lily's foster home, which Lena provided. The path clear in my mind, the anger and sense of purpose driving me forward. I knew there was no turning back. I was willing to face whatever consequences came my way. As long as I could save Lily from torment, she was enduring. As I approached foster home, the house looming ominously before me, I felt the full weight of my action, and the responsibility that came with my powers. But in that moment, all I could think about was getting Lily to safety, no matter cost. The journey had taken a dark turn, and choices I made now would echo through the balance I was sworn to protect. But I knew in my heart that protecting those I cared about was worth any risk, even if it meant challenging the very rules that defined my existence as curator. The foster home's front door loomed before me, an ominous barrier between me and Lily. The man who opened the door was just as intimidating as the house, a burly figure with unshaven beard, eyes cold and calculating. What do you want? Growled, his voice a low rumble. I'm here to see Lily, I said. My voice was steady despite the fear clawing at my inside. I'm a friend of hers. The man's eyes narrowed, a sneer curling his lips. Lily doesn't have friends. Now get lost. With that, he slammed the door in my face. Anger flared within me. I knocked again, harder this time. Please just let me see her. The door flew open. The man shoved me with surprising force. I stumbled back, barely keeping my footing. I said, get lost, he barked, his aggression hitting me like a physical blow. In that moment, I felt a familiar surge of heat rise within me. The control I had fought so hard to maintain slipped away. My eyes began to glow with fiery intensity. The air around me shimmered with heat of my rage. The man's eyes widened in fear. He took a step back, clearly unnerved by the change in my demeanor. What the hell are you? He stammered, his voice trembling. I stepped forward, my voice a growl. Where is Lily? What have you done to her? Terrified, the man blurted out, she's not here. She was traded for money to some gang members. They wanted young recruits for their group. The horror of his words hit me like physical blow. Traded? My blood boiled with fury. I struggled to keep my powers in check. Where are they? Demanded, my voice low and dangerous. He raised his hands in a placating gesture, his eyes darting nervously between my glowing irises and the ground. I don't know where they are exactly. They move around a lot and are hard to trace. But they're usually operating out of old warehouse on the outskirts of town. It's all I know, I swear. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to make him pay for what he had done. but I knew finding Lily was priority. I took deep breath trying to steady my raging emotions. "You'd better hope you're telling truth," I said through gritted teeth. He nodded vigorously, eager to see me leave. "I am. Please just go. I don't want any trouble." I turned on my heel and stormed away from the house, my heart pounding with a mix of fury and desperation. The old warehouse on outskirts of town. The thought echoed in my mind as I quickened my pace, heading toward the edge of town with single-minded determination. The sky had darkened, stars beginning to peek through twilight as I made my way through winding streets. My thoughts were a maelstrom of fear for Lily, and anger at the injustice she had suffered. Reaching the outskirts of town, I scanned the area, my eyes searching for any sign of warehouse. The moon cast long shadows over desolate buildings. I could feel tension in the air, thick and oppressive. Finally, I spotted an old warehouse, its dark silhouette standing against the night sky. The building was decrepit and abandoned, perfect hiding place for a group that didn't want to be found. As I approached, I steeled myself for what lay ahead. Didn't know what I would find inside, or how I would get Lily out. I knew I had to try. Thought of her in danger, suffering at hands of these criminals, was more than I could bear. I reached the door and took deep breath, pushing it open as quietly as possible. The hinges creaked, sound echoing through empty space. I slipped inside, the darkness enveloping me as I began to search for any sign of Lily. The interior was a maze of shadows and debris, air heavy with scent of dust and decay. My senses were on high alert, every sound amplified as I moved through the corridors. In distance, I heard voices, low and murmuring, punctuated by occasional laughter. My heart raced. I followed the sound, moved closer to the source. The voices grew louder, clearer. As I finally reached a door that was slightly ajar, a figure stepped out from the shadows. A man tall and imposing with an air of authority. Behind him, I saw Lily, her face pale but defiant. My heart leaped at the sight of her, but the situation was far from safe. The man's voice was low and threatening. "So, you're the one causing all the trouble. I'm boss here. You want Lily? Come and take her." It seems like the boss already knew about my arrival. Lily's eyes met mine. Despite fear in her gaze, she managed a sarcastic smile. "Zephy, you finally decided to show up. Took you long enough." I took a step forward. My eyes never left Lily's. "How did they catch you?" She shrugged. Her tone was light but tinged with bitterness. "I went back to camp area to relive some memories. That's when police caught me. Git's hammock life was too boring for me. Prefer moving around." Boss grew impatient. He raised his gun and pointed it at Lily's head. "Enough chit-chat. You want her? Come and get her." A surge of terror and fury coursed through me. My eyes glowed brighter. The air crackled with energy. "Let her go," I said. My voice was a dangerous growl. The boss sneered. He pressed the gun harder against Lily's temple. "Make me." I stepped forward, my anger boiling over. Gang members who had been standing between me and Lily began to disintegrate into dust. Their bodies turned to ash under force of my power. The aura around me intensified, a swirling vortex of heat and energy. Lily sensed the growing danger. She tried to pull away from Boss's grip. "Are you scared now?" he taunted, her voice steady despite chaos around her. "Shut up," Boss roared. He jammed the gun against her temple with renewed aggression. I said, "Back off!" But I didn't stop. The storm inside me had reached a crescendo. Nothing could hold it back. I closed distance between us. My eyes locked onto Boss. He too began to disintegrate. His body started breaking apart into fine particles of dust. Panic surged through him. In a final desperate act, he pulled trigger. The shot rang out, a deafening explosion in the confined space. Lily crumpled to the ground. Blood streamed from her shoulder. "No," I roared, my voice, primal scream of agony and rage. Then rage. The sound tore through air. The full force of my power erupted from me. The room exploded into chaos. A massive tornado of dust and energy swirled around me, tearing apart everything in its path. My focus was solely on Lily. She lay unconscious on floor, her blood pooling around her. The sight of her so vulnerable and hurt broke something inside me. I fell to my knees beside her, my hands trembling as I reached out to touch her. "Lily," I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. "Please, hold on." But the storm around us was growing. We were safe inside the storm's eye. Fueled by my grief and rage, the energy poured out of me. an unstoppable force that turned everything it touched to dust. The walls of building began to crumble. The air was thick with swirling debris. Zephy! Lily's faint voice broke through chaos. I looked down to see her eyes fluttering open, her face pale and streaked with tears. You have to stop. Please, you're going to destroy everything. Her words pierced through haze of my fury. I struggled to regain control. The storm was too strong, too wild to contain. Power that had been my strength was now terrifying, destructive force. I didn't know how to stop it. Its energy felt foreign. Amara, Thyron, help me. I cried out, my voice raw with desperation. Power coursing through me felt boundless. Yet in that moment, I was utterly powerless. Lily lay badly hurt in my arms. Her breath shallow, her skin cold to touch. The storm that had erupted around us was now full-blown cyclone. Swirling with unrestrained fury, with me at its center, Amara and Theron emerged through portal, their faces etched with concern and urgency. Chaotic winds and dark clouds twisted violently around us. An unstable cyclone grew more powerful with every passing second. Theron tried to control the tempest, but his efforts seemed futile against unknown force I had unleashed. Amara's eyes widened with alarm as she took in sight of Lily, injured and slipping into unconsciousness. Zephy, we have to take her to Zivy, she shouted over the howling winds. I can place her in Ancient's healing pod, but I don't know how long it will take for her to heal or if she will heal at all, but we can try. A mixture of hope and fear surged through me. Do it, I pleaded, my voice breaking. Just save her. Amara nodded, determination in her eyes. She opened portal. Without hesitation, I carried Lily through. The cyclone's force tugged at us. We left Earth behind. Portal closed. The storm I had started continued to rage. Its strength grew unchecked. We emerged into tranquility of Zivy. The stark contrast to chaos we had left behind was almost surreal. Air was calm. The multiple suns cast warm, gentle light over the land. Yet my heart was heavy with dread. Amara swiftly guided us to ancient healing chamber, her movements urgent. The blue-hued walls of the sanctuary glowed softly. Their light was stark contrast to turmoil within me. Gently, she placed Lily in the healing pod. Soft ethereal glow enveloped her. As the pod began its work, I collapsed to floor beside it. My eyes still glowed with fierce, uncontrollable light. Anger and sorrow churned within me. An overwhelming tide of emotion that I couldn't suppress. My breaths came in ragged gasps. The weight of my failure crushed me. I should have never left her alone, I muttered. Tears blurred my vision. This is my fault. Amara's face was etched with compassion and concern, but she kept careful distance, knowing that any attempt to comfort me might only feed my despair. Zephy, she's in best place she can be right now. Healing pod will do everything possible to restore her. Theron stood beside her. His gaze shifted between me and storm that had manifested on Earth. We need to return. Try to contain Cyclone, he said, his voice steady despite the urgency. But first, we must ensure you are calm, Zephy. Your emotions are driving this storm. Couldn't hear them. My focus was entirely on Lily lying motionless in pod. Each shallow rise and fall of her chest was a small victory. The uncertainty of her recovery gnawed at me. Amara and Theron exchanged a look of helplessness. They turned back towards portal. They knew their attempts to soothe me would be in vain. We'll return to Earth. Do what we can, Amara said softly. But you must stay here with Lily. She needs you. As they left, air around me grew still. Calm of Zivy, a stark contrast to the turmoil within. I sat beside healing pod, my thoughts consumed with regret and sorrow. The glow from pod flickered gently. Faint hope in the darkness that had enveloped my heart. Hours turned into days. I sat vigil by Lily's side, unresponsive to Amara and Theron's attempts to reach me. They returned from Earth with news always the same. The cyclone continued to grow, fed off energy I had unleashed. Its power was an unknown energy force they couldn't fully comprehend or control. Each time they came back, their expressions graver, their voices tinged with a helplessness that mirrored my own. The storm is beyond our abilities to contain, Theron confessed one day. His eyes were filled with sorrow. Keeps growing, threatening everything in its path. Amara knelt beside me. Her hand hovered just above my shoulder, hesitant to touch. Zephy, you need to regain control. The storm is linked to your emotions. The longer you remain in this state, the more powerful it becomes. I couldn't respond. My mind was trapped in a loop of regret and guilt, replaying the moments that led to this disaster. I had broken rules, intervened where I shouldn't have, and now consequences were spiraling out of control. Lily's face, peaceful in unconsciousness, was a constant reminder of my failure. Her presence was a beacon. It anchored me to my sorrow. Couldn't tear myself away. The days blurred together as I watched over her. The storm on Earth grew ever stronger, unstoppable, bigger at every passing moment. Amara and Thyron were relentless in their efforts to contain Cyclone. But without my cooperation, their attempts were futile. The balance of the galaxy hung in the balance, threatened by the very power I had unleashed in my desperation to save a friend. In the silence of Sanctuary as I sat beside Healing Pod, my eyes still glowing with fierce fire powering the storm, the enormity of my actions weighed down on me. For now, all I could do was wait and hope. Hope for Lily's recovery, for the storm's end, for the strength to face the consequences of my choices. Would Amara and Thyron be able to stop Storm without my help? Would Lily ever recover from her injuries? And would I ever find way back from depths of my sorrow and anger? These questions lingered in the air, unanswered and haunting. The light of Zephy's suns cast long shadows over Sanctuary. Fate of Earth hung in balance.
At the far edge of Milky Way galaxy, on opposite side from where Earth lies, there exists a planet called Oira. But today, Oira was about to awaken, in a most unexpected way. Deep within heart of Oira, nestled in cozy cavern lay Lethara, one of First Ancients. She had been presumed dead for millennia, her power lay dormant, and she had enjoyed a long, well-deserved rest. Lethara sprawled out on a bed of glowing moss, her snores echoing softly through the cavern. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open. She bolted upright. A familiar surge of energy had jolted her awake, sending tingles down her spine. Ah yes, it was Zephy's power, unleashed in a fit of cosmic rage. With quirky smiles spreading across her face, Lethara stretched and yawned dramatically. "Here goes Zephy again," she muttered to herself, her voice dripping with playful sarcasm. "Breaking everything up. Doesn't matter how many times we fix things. Zephy always ends up cracking things in Cosmic World. This time, what has he done?" She chuckled, her laughter echoing through the empty halls of the cavern. Her eyes gleamed with mixture of fondness and exasperation. This should be entertaining. Let's see what kind of chaos Zephy has unleashed this time. She closed her eyes and focused, sensing power and its source through the cosmic web. The storm Zephy had created was a swirling vortex of energy, unrestrained and growing stronger by the minute. Lethara could feel the ripples of its impact spreading across the galaxy, a chaotic melody in the cosmic symphony. Well, well, she mused, tapping her chin thoughtfully. Looks like a proper mess. But what else is new? Zephy's got talent for these things. Her mischievous grin widened as she imagined the scene on Earth. I bet Amara and Thyron are running around like headless chickens trying to fix this one. Poor dears. With a sigh, Lethara stretched again. Her limbs made exaggerated popping sounds. I suppose I could go back to sleep, see how this all plays out. Chaos does have a way of sorting itself out eventually. With that, she flopped back onto a bed of glowing moss. Good luck, Zephy, she murmured. Her voice was muffled by the blanket. Try not to break the galaxy this time. As she drifted back into slumber, her last thoughts were filled with amusement and curiosity. Let's see what chaos you bring this time, Zephy. I'll be watching from here. Sort of.
This was episode 16 from the Curators Series, Book 1, Zephy Awakening by Kennard. This is the last episode from Book 1, Zephy Awakening. The series will continue here on from the Curators Series Book 2, Lethara and the Cosmic Web. Available only on StoryDepths YouTube channel. Click on the playlist to listen to other episodes.